This is the story of a man who was systematically destroying his own life, 1 minute at a time, without even knowing it. He had a stable job, a decent apartment, and a woman who loved him. But in exactly 365 days, he lost everything. It wasn't a sudden tragedy or a massive mistake. It was something far worse. It was the quiet, invisible power of the 1% downward spiral. What he discovered at his absolute rock bottom will change the way you look at every single choice you make today. Before we begin, I want to ask you a very honest question. What time are you watching this video right now? And what city are you from? Drop a comment below and let me know. Please like and subscribe for more stories like this. Now, look closely at your own daily routine as we see what happened to David. In a bustling city where the streets never slept, lived a 30-year-old man named David. David worked as a mid-level data analyst for a logistics firm. His salary was average, his apartment was average, and his life was entirely comfortable. He had been dating Sarah, a school teacher, for 3 years. They talked about buying a house. They talked about the future. David always said, "Next year, I will work harder. Next year, I will get the promotion. Next year, I will get in shape." He believed that life transformation required a massive, dramatic event, a lucky break, a sudden stroke of genius. Because that break hadn't arrived yet, David stayed in motion, but he never took action. He began to develop small, seemingly harmless habits. Every evening, instead of reviewing his certifications for 20 minutes, he would open his laptop and play video games. Just 1 hour, he told himself. Every morning, instead of eating the breakfast Sarah prepared, he grabbed a sugary pastry and an energy drink on his way to the office. "I'm just tired today," he whispered. When his manager asked for a voluntary weekly report, David chose to skip it. "It doesn't affect my core metrics anyway," he reasoned. To David, these choices felt microscopic. They carried no immediate consequences. Playing games for one evening didn't ruin his career. Eating one pastry didn't make him obese. Skipping one report didn't get him fired. He felt completely safe, but David did not understand the mathematical law of compounding ruin. By July, the invisible math began to show its face. David had gained 15 pounds. His energy levels plummeted. Because he was constantly exhausted, he became irritable. When Sarah tried to talk to him about their future, he snapped at her. "I am working all day, Sarah. Leave me alone." He didn't notice the look of deep exhaustion in her eyes. At work, his slow pace became the new normal. He missed a minor deadline in August, then another in October. He told himself it was just a bad month. On a freezing Friday afternoon in December, David was called into the director's office. He walked in, expecting a routine evaluation. Instead, there was a man from Human Resources sitting next to his boss. "David," his director said, looking at a stack of papers. "We are restructuring the department. Over the past year, your team's efficiency has dropped significantly, and your personal output has steadily declined. We have to let you go." David's mind went blank. "Declined? Sir, I did my job. I didn't commit any major errors." "That is the problem, David," the director replied. "You didn't do anything majorly wrong. You just stopped doing anything exceptionally right. You fell behind the curve day by day." He walked out of the building with his personal belongings in a cardboard box. When he reached his apartment, he found a set of keys on the kitchen table next to a handwritten note from Sarah. "David, I love you, but I cannot watch you drift away anymore. You are present in body, but you have abandoned your life. I need to move on." In a single afternoon, the house of cards collapsed. David sat on the floor of his empty living room and wept. He looked at his reflection in the dark television screen. He looked heavy, tired, and broken. He asked the empty room, "How did this happen all at once?" The truth was, it didn't happen all at once. He had been building this exact failure for 365 days, one small choice at a time. 3 days later, unable to bear the silence of his apartment, David walked to a local community center to return some borrowed books. There, he saw an old man setting up a massive, handcrafted wooden chess set. The man was Arthur, a retired university professor, known in the neighborhood for his sharp mind and absolute discipline. David sat on a bench nearby, looking completely defeated. Arthur looked up, saw the younger man's hollow eyes, and pointed to the chair across from him. "Play a game with me," Arthur said. His voice was calm, commanding, and heavy with experience. David hesitated, then sat down. Within 10 moves, Arthur had completely trapped David's pieces. David sighed and pushed his king over. "I lost before I even realized I was in trouble." Arthur rearranged the pieces slowly. "That is how most people lose at chess, David. And that is how most people lose at life. They don't lose because of one terrible move. They lose because they allow small, unnoticeable disadvantages to accumulate until defeat becomes mathematically certain." David felt a sudden sting of recognition. He poured his heart out to the old man. He told him about the job, about Sarah, about his total confusion. "I don't understand," David said. "I never made a massive mistake." Arthur took a small notepad and a pen from his pocket. He drew a single line going upward and a single line curved sharply downward. "David, there is a fundamental law of human behavior that you have ignored," Arthur said. "It is the law of the 1%. If you get 1% better each day for 1 year, you will end up 37 times better than where you started. But if you get 1% worse each day, you will decline almost down to absolute zero. The difference between these two trajectories is invisible in the moment, but over time, it is the difference between a masterpiece and total ruin." He pointed the pen at David. "You thought your daily habits didn't matter because the consequence wasn't immediate. But habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way money multiplies through interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them." David looked at the math on the page. "But how do I reverse it? I have nothing left to compound." "You have today," Arthur replied firmly. "And you do not need a massive transformation. You do not need to change your whole life tomorrow. You just need to win the 1% metric. For the next 90 days, I want you to pick 3 tiny actions. 1 for your mind, 1 for your body, 1 for your career. You will execute them every single day without exception. No negotiation." Arthur wrote down the protocol. 1. Mind. Read exactly 5 pages of a technical book. 2. Body. Do exactly 20 push-ups every morning before touching your phone. 3. Career. Spend 15 minutes updating your professional network or learning one software tool. That seems too small, David said. That won't get my job back or bring Sarah home. The smallness is the secret, Arthur said, leaning forward. Because it is small, your mind cannot make excuses to avoid it. The first week will feel pointless. Your brain will tell you that reading 5 pages changes nothing. Push through that illusion. Around day 20, the momentum will take over. Go build your 1% trajectory. David took the notepad, thanked the old man, and walked home. The next morning, the alarm rang at 6 a.m. David's mind immediately began to create excuses. You don't have a job anyway. Stay in bed. But David looked at the notepad. He rolled onto the floor and did exactly 20 push-ups. His chest burned, but it was done. He sat at his kitchen table and read exactly 5 pages of an advanced data analytics manual. Then, he spent 15 minutes fixing his LinkedIn profile. The entire process took less than 40 minutes. It didn't feel spectacular. It felt completely ordinary. But David kept his promise. Day 5, day 10, day 15. By day 20, something deep inside his psychology shifted. The push-ups became automatic. He didn't have to think about them. His body simply executed the movement the moment his feet touched the floor. The 5 pages of reading turned into an appetite for knowledge. He started understanding complex database architectures that used to confuse him. By month 2, David had completed 2 entire textbooks and built a completely new data visualization portfolio. His energy had returned. He had dropped the weight he gained. He looked sharper, spoke faster, and carried himself with an unmistakable air of quiet capability. He wasn't waiting for a massive break. He was manufacturing readiness. On day 75, David applied for a highly competitive senior analyst position at a top-tier tech firm. During the technical interview, they presented him with a massive, unorganized dataset and gave him 2 hours to find the structural flaw. Because David had been spending 15 minutes every single day for over 2 months analyzing data models, his mind operated with absolute precision. He found the flaw in exactly 35 minutes. The hiring manager looked at his solution, then looked up at David. This is exceptional work. Most candidates get overwhelmed by the sheer volume of this data. David smiled faintly, remembering the old professor. The volume doesn't matter, sir. It's just a collection of small points. He got the job. The salary was 40% higher than his previous position. 1 year after his absolute rock bottom, David was standing on the balcony of his new apartment, looking out over the city skyline. He was in the best physical shape of his life. He was respected in his new company. He had sent a long, humble letter to Sarah, not begging her to come back, but thanking her for having the courage to leave him when he was destroying himself. They had agreed to meet for coffee the following week. David took out a small notebook from his pocket, the same notebook Arthur had given him. He drew a single line showing a 37% increase. He realized that success is not a goal to be achieved, but a system to be deployed. My friend, David's story is the absolute mathematical proof of how your life is being determined right now. Every choice you make is a vote for the type of person you want to become. You think that watching one more video, skipping one more workout, or wasting one more hour doesn't matter because the scoreboard doesn't change immediately. But you are wrong. You are quietly compounding toward absolute zero. So, here is your 1% challenge for the next 30 days. Step 1. Tonight, identify one tiny, negative 1% habit that you are currently treating as harmless. It could be scrolling your phone for 15 minutes in bed, or buying that sugary coffee every afternoon. Write it down and eliminate it completely. Step 2. Choose one micro habit that takes less than 5 minutes to complete. Do not make it massive. Make it so easy that you cannot say no to it. 5 pages of a book. 10 air squats. Writing down your top 3 priorities for the next day. Step 3. Track it visually on a piece of paper. Do not break the chain. If you miss one day, that is a mistake. If you miss 2 days, that is the start of a new, negative habit. If you are ready to stop waiting for a massive change and start winning the 1% trajectory, hit that like button right now as your contract of commitment. Then drop a comment below and tell me, what is the one tiny habit you are going to start tomorrow morning? Let us hold each other accountable in the comments. Share this video with someone who is currently drifting and needs to see the math of their choices. Subscribe to the channel because every single week I bring you systems and stories to help you break out of your loops and build your potential. Remember Arthur's words: the trajectory of your life is found in the things you think don't matter. Will you get 1% better tomorrow or 1% worse? The math is already running.